Every few months, the Siege is dead train rolls back into town, and ever since SiegeX dropped, we've had a pretty massive resurgence of the Doom narrative that Siege is dying, Siege is failing, and I just think this is so annoying. It's not because Siege is perfect and Siege is the #1 game out there, it's not. Siege definitely has its problems, just like every other game out there. I think Siege has a massive problem with creators who have been doing this for years that are running out of ideas. One of the biggest complaints I see about the game is the lack of content. And I think SiegeX was probably a little overhyped. This was touted as a massive step forward for the game, and it was a step up, but I just don't think it quite hit what people were expecting. You have to remember we're talking about a 10-year-old game that is updated every 3 or 4 months. I'm not really sure what giant leap people were expecting in the game. I think you can put that blame squarely on Ubisoft's shoulders. I think that's fair. But we gotta sit back and think about how difficult it's gonna be making fresh new content for a game that's this old. I personally don't think Siege has to completely change itself to stay relevant for another 10 years. It's a great game on its core, and really should be able to stand on that, kinda like the most played FPS game on PC, Counter-Strike, which compared to Siege is a bare bones shooter. But I understand that people want content on content on content, and I understand that the game hasn't had a new map since Nighthaven back in 2022, but if you step back and think about how many maps are already in the game, the current ranked pool has 16 maps and 25 total if we're still counting Hereford Base. Then Team Deathmatch has its own map and Dual Front has its own map. But Core Siege has 25 total maps. When you're playing ranked, you have 5 maps on the map ban phase. In the current system, you'd probably have to play around 3 to 4 games of ranked on a given day to have a chance to play on whatever new map is added into the game. So aside from the Discovery playlist, which doesn't include ranked and only lasts around 2 weeks on a new season when a new map does drop, how often do you think you're really going to see this new map? I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to have a new map once a year or so, but it's not going to be a piece of new content that you're constantly going to be playing with. I'd like to see more maps added to the TDM game mode. I think there's a lot of untapped potential in the arcade side of Siege. I've said it before on the channel, I'd like to see the arcade playlist get a lot more attention from the devs. That's where I'd like to see some creative time put into the game. Another complaint is less operators. I actually agree. The current new operator pace is not good. I want a new operator every season. Siege is Ubisoft's #1 moneymaker. I think they need to get back to putting a new operator in every season, devote the manpower to getting it done. I agree with you guys, that does need to happen. Even if the gadgets are similar to other operators that are already in the game, you can take Jaeger and Wamai, for example. Callie and Thatcher have some overlap with their gadgets. Even if a new operator every season meant we got like another sledge or something, it would give us new skins, more options. We're getting new guns with every operator now, so that's good. That would mean more guns in the game. But yeah, if we could get new operators more in the game, I'm all for it. I do think that they need to step that up and make it happen. The biggest complaint though, and one that is constantly harped on with this game, is the cheating situation. I think, this is my experience, that the cheating problem in Siege is massively overblown. Yes, Siege has cheaters. I know it has cheaters. Every game has cheaters. In my personal experience, running into cheaters in ranked, it is really not that bad. That's probably because I'm not in the higher ranks, and I would imagine that's where the majority of cheaters are, obviously. But this is why content creators and the average player have a different perspective on the game. If you're able to play the game for 6 to 8 hours a day and get to that champ rank or diamond, I would imagine your experience, yes, is a lot different than the average player who maybe gets a game or two in after work, a few games on the weekend. Those two players are in different worlds. And I think the biggest majority of the Siege player base is more towards the casual side that doesn't play for a living. I play around 60 to 100 games of ranked. I'm not a full-time content creator. This is very much part-time for me, and I do good to hit that 60 to 100 game mark. In the last year or so, I've only had my MMR rolled back once. And you can say, well, that's because the anti-cheat is so bad. I don't know how bad that anti-cheat really is. Cheaters are constantly getting caught and banned. When I'm online, ban waves are constantly flooding my screen. I think the issue that's frustrating players is that the system is more reactive than proactive. Ubisoft has said that they've banned over 170,000 accounts in the last 18 months. The cheaters are getting caught. I would like to see a kernel level anti-cheat implemented. I know that's not an end-all fix, but I think it would go a long way. but I can only give you my experience. And the cheating problem, to me, is not nearly as bad as probably your favorite content creators making it out to be. There's plenty of channels I can show you here whose front page is dominated by cheating or just some sort of negative video about Siege. And that goes back to not very many ideas going around for a 10-year-old game. In this world, unfortunately, negativity gets a lot of attention, and I think a lot of these guys are probably cashing in on it as long as they can. I think people have been so conditioned that cheaters are everywhere, that every good play is perceived as a cheater. I've been accused of being a cheater on my YouTube videos, which is kind of hilarious. I'm a player who struggles to hit gold and has a KD of about 1 or a 0.9 on average, and now the default seems to be every good play is made by a cheater. And with all these issues and with everybody screaming about the death of Siege, let's take a look at the numbers. I had GPT-5 give me the average position among all Steam games each year, and this is how it stacked up. So as you can see, the mean average for the last 2 years has it firmly in the top 30. And that's a big improvement over the previous 2 years of 2023 and 2022. And as I record this video, you can see Siege is number 12 on the list, 86,000 current players right now. Looks like the peak players for the last 30 days is about 93,000. It doesn't sound like a dying game to me. Obviously, those are just the Steam stats. That doesn't give us a full picture, but it is a good look and gives you an idea of where the game is. And according to Game Rant, Siege is actually one of the most sold PlayStation games of all time, sitting at number 17. And I mean, that's pretty crazy considering the long history of PlayStation games. So yeah, just a quick video. I just kind of wanted to put it out there and be one of the few that are kind of standing up and countering the constant attack on this game. Does Siege have issues? Absolutely. I'm not saying that we can't have constructive criticism to point out things that need to be fixed. I've done that on this channel myself, but it just feels like a concerted effort to attack this game over the last few months. And thankfully, the numbers that I'm seeing shows that most people are just playing the game. What you read on the internet isn't always what you experience in real life. And I just wanted to put out, you know, a little positivity for a game that I love. It's still my favorite game, and I felt it necessary to come to its defense a little bit. If you guys are still here, I really appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.